Little rank is closed meeting. We will be open tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. No rank is closed. We will open tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Thank you for that space for me.
They're shutting down. They got to kick me out. But, you know, the curse of getting bigger legs as a dude. I mean, I guess if the only movements you ever did were just leg extensions and hamstring curls, and that built you some freaky legs, then I guess you're okay. But from getting stronger with heavy pressing, your butt's just going to fucking grow. You know, your glutes are just going to kind of get enough stimulation. So, really, unless you're a power lifter, unless you're powerlifting and you're doing like glute ham bench or hip thrusts for the purpose of a stronger posterior chain, which all power to you. I guess that's fucking fitting a goal that you have. So, you know, hit it, go for it. But if you're just kind of lifting to get bigger, man, I think I just need everything in proportion. And I'm sure I have a variety of flawed perceptions about my own build. You know, same thing with anybody who's into, you know, muscle growth and bodybuilding and everything else like that. I don't think I have it that bad, but, you know, it's definitely in there subconsciously. But, you know, I don't have that same set of, I don't know, let's just say circuitry as like a, you know, like a white girl who just wants a bigger dump truck. Main thing I'm trying to say, I guess, I want bigger thighs, bigger quads, glutes, and since bigger quads and hamstrings, and since my glutes are big enough, they don't need direct work. And for the most part, I think you're probably okay. I don't think you need to be doing direct glutes. Don't let me control your workouts, but that's just my 2 cents on the matter. So, plan for when I get home is eat some ramen, pack up all my laundry and whatnot, because, fuck, I gotta go back to school. I got like finals and shit, man. This sucks. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna freaking do? I gotta learn about thermodynamics and all sorts of other mumbo jumbo. Let's not think about this right now. Let's not think about that right now. Let's look in one more pose. Boom. Let's roll. That was a good ass leg day. A little bit on the chiller side, honestly, but I have this back and forth mentality when it comes to squats. So it's almost like a loop that I sort of go through in my thought process of them. So I don't squat for a while, and I do a lot of sets like those leg extension supersetted with sissy squat sets. I do a lot like that. Crazy pump, really good stimulus, really good fatigue, and I can, you know, really push it to failure pretty consistently, you know. Like a set of squats to legit failure is more difficult for me than a set of leg extensions to failure. So I feel very comfortable on the leg extension, and doing those sissy squats too. I mean, I just always have a really good lift. But then after I do that for a little while, I think the ego part of my brain that wants to lift a lot of weight kicks in, or maybe I watch a video of somebody squatting and it hypes me up, and I'm like, okay, now I want to squat heavy. And then I squat heavy for a while, and then I go back and, you know, which obviously I do think heavy squats are good for you, but, you know, you've got to do whatever ends up giving you the most consistent, let's just say, work output, right? So if your leg day is, well, I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say there. I'm just sort of pointing out that I have this little, it's almost like a seasonal shift, a very short season, of course, only a few weeks long, where I do those leg extensions, lighter sets, really go for a pump, and then maybe I do more heavy sets. Not that I think that little situation that I'm in is bad, because just by changing up the kind of workouts that I do, I mean, I think that's good for you. Obviously, every workout shouldn't be drastically, completely different than every other one. You know, if I follow the same sort of basic framework, you know, maybe around 5-6 sets, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, kind of heavy. Not kind of heavy, you know, hard, be it a heavy set or a lighter squeezing set. And then, as long as my quads feel fatigued, I know I did a good amount of work and they're pumped, I think that's good. But this is sort of a new style for me. This is the first time where I've kind of trained with a little bit of variability in the daily volume of each body part. Up until now, I've been doing, well, actually, last bulk. Last bulk, I was doing 11 sets per body part, no matter how I felt. So if I felt fully pumped on quads at set number 6, I would still kind of finish to 11. I wouldn't really lose the pump, but I would just go to 11, kind of just because it felt like a good number. But I think well, what I want to find out is whether or not I'm going to get similar or better results with less volume by going until I feel like I've done enough. And that's not necessarily something which I can, tell you how to feel. I mean, I'm sort of basing this off of like the 5 years of training behind me, where I've been doing, 12, 13 set per body part workouts. And in the beginning, I was doing like 25 sets. So my training has changed pretty drastically. But even with all those changes, there's still been a steady flow of, let's just call it progress. So I think that kind of makes me think, whether or not you want to do lower volume, or you sit in the gym and you do 20 sets for chest, or you do, whatever, you do a drop set every set, you do a super set every set, I've done that for a while, or you just do all straight sets. I think it is good for you to change it up over time. Every couple of months, maybe have a little shift in your style, even if it's just a little. But as long as you go hard in the gym and you go in and put some work in, I think you're going to get that training part of this whole bodybuilding, let's just call it routine, done, because you got to think, people get fucking big doing all sorts of crazy shit. Right? I make this analogy all the time. CrossFitters will be fucking pretty yoked. Olympic lifters will finish like a 400-pound clean and jerk, throw the weight down, do a double by, and you would think they're a fucking amateur bodybuilder. I mean, your body can respond to a ton of different kinds of stimulus. And following that logic, it's tough enough to be able to handle a ton of stimulus. It's my firm belief that, well, it's a firm belief for me at least, that if you get a good night's rest, you eat your food, you take all your vitamins, everything else, you do your cardio, I think you can train every day, man. Ever since I was a beginner, from pretty much day one onward, I have never taken more than, I couldn't even tell you, maybe like, dude, I don't know. The longest rest times I've ever taken in terms of like rest days were, well, they pretty much come down to a few different situations. Right. We'll start off with the ones where I actually think to myself, okay, a rest day would be beneficial if I'm fucking dying, if I'm sick as hell from whatever. And I don't mean just like I've got a cough and a stomach ache. I mean like I'm fucking bedridden for some reason. Then, of course, you're gonna take a fucking rest day, man. I'm sick. If your body is in a really compromised state like that, then training isn't really gonna do you any good. Now, it may do you some good in terms of your mental toughness, because if you train sick, then that's kind of just like, oh fuck, I want it that bad, I'm going in anyway. It's definitely not the best case scenario for progress. As I've got a little bit more, I don't want to, let's just say, well, I don't know. I think as I've got a little more experience with lifting, now I'm more prone to say, okay, I know that I'm sick. I know that it's going to be better for me in terms of making progress and getting back on track to just take a rest day. I think that's the experienced take on if you're sick. But, when I was a beginner, I didn't care if I felt like total shit, or if I was like fucking, totally out of it. I was still going to go in just because, it made me feel good. I was like, I want it this bad. And I think there's definitely a little bit of benefit I got from that. But that's not me telling you to go in sick.